Hello guys, and how are you all doing? If it's your first time here on my channel, it is good to have you. My name is Blessing Njoh, also known as Mrs. Ejim, and in today's video I am going to be talking about the use of both chloroquine and hydrochloroquine as possible treatment or maybe even the cure for COVID-19. But before we get into the video, I would quickly like to mention the differences between both medicines because a lot of people still confuse them to be the same, but they are two totally different medicines. Okay, so chloroquine on the one hand is an anti-malarial drug developed way back in 1934, while hydrochloroquine was developed 12 years later for the treatment of autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis. So let us get into it. So ever since COVID-19 became a global pandemic, all hands have been on deck, not only to find a vaccine, but also to find a cure for the disease. So various countries across the world have been conducting clinical tests and trials to look at the benefits and the possible risks of the use of chloroquine and hydrochloroquine. And I must say that in all of these countries, the initial results were very promising, especially in the prevention of COVID-19, that even the FDA approved the use of both chloroquine and hydrochloroquine in the treatment of COVID-19 sometime in March. And also France authorized hospitals to prescribe and administer these drugs on COVID-19 patients, and then something happened. A medical newspaper called the Lancet released a publication that states that the use of chloroquine and hydrochloroquine is associated with high fatalities and heart problems. And this was actually the publication that caused the World Health Organization and many others to halt the trials that they were conducting on these drugs. And France also reversed its authorization to use these drugs to treat COVID-19 patients. But here is the funny thing. China also conducted trials using these drugs on 22 patients, and all of the patients were critically sick. They all had COVID-19. So 10 of the patients were treated with chloroquine and the 12 remaining patients were treated with, I believe, lopanavir. And at the end of 2 weeks, at the end of 14 days, all the patients that were treated with chloroquine tested negative and were discharged from hospital. And the 12 other patients, about 92% of them tested negative. So it is not even only chloroquine that is a possible cure of COVID-19, but there are also potentially other medicines that could be looked into. Another country that has successfully used chloroquine in the treatment of COVID-19 is Djibouti. Djibouti is the country with the highest COVID-19 cases on the entire African continent, and they have succeeded in using chloroquine in the treatment of COVID-19. And so far, over 1,000 people have tested negative to COVID-19 after being treated with chloroquine, and there are only 9 people that have actually lost their lives due to COVID-19 in Djibouti. And Morocco is another country that has followed the same method in systematically administering chloroquine to COVID-19 patients, and the death rate in Morocco is currently at 2.7%, which is way lower than the global average of 70% if we have to look at what is going on in the USA and in Europe at the moment. And of course, talking about the USA, President Trump has used chloroquine as a preventive measure against COVID-19, and the Brazilian president has done the same thing. And I am standing here today in front of you as an ex-malaria patient. I grew up in Africa. In case you are watching me for the first time and you don't know my backstory, I have also suffered the consequences of malaria growing up in West Africa. Chloroquine is a treatment that everybody knows. I have been critically sick with malaria, almost to the point of death, that I would have drips, multiple drips connected to my body. I would be feverish. I would be so weak that I could not do anything for myself. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat. It was so serious. So chloroquine was like the treatment. It was just the treatment that everybody knows for malaria in Africa. And that is also the case in Asia. So the question is, why is there so much resistance and opposition against the use of chloroquine in certain parts of Europe and also in the USA? So let us look at the biggest arguments that people come up with when it comes to using chloroquine as a treatment against COVID-19. The biggest argument is that the use of chloroquine and hydrochloroquine causes heart rhythm problems that can be worsened, especially when used in combination with medicines that cause similar effects on the heart. So what I would say right here is that if you're watching this video, you should follow the regulations of the country in which you live. If you have to use chloroquine, Although it has worked for me, it has worked for hundreds and thousands of other people out there. If you have to use chloroquine, make sure you don't self-medicate. Only use chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine under supervision of a healthcare professional. Also take other pre-existing heart problems into account. And last but not least, exercise caution when combining these drugs with other medications. So with that, I am going to say thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video if you found it helpful and insightful, and also share it with someone who might need to hear this information. And do not forget to hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet to my channel. I will catch you on the next one.